All right, Jeff. Today we got word of the passing of another boxer, Maxim Dadashev. Tragedy. I know you weren't too familiar with him, but I know you know the situation, surrounding it. So, just your thoughts on, when you hear about one of your fellow pugilists passing away.
Well, I mean, the one thing about boxing is that a lot of people just look at it as a sport, and it is a sport. But at the same time, these type of things happen, and have been happening for many years. It's just that it doesn't happen frequently. But at the same time, I mean, that just goes to show the type of risk that fighters take. I mean, a lot of times the damage can be done in the gym. I mean, sometimes it's brain damage. Sometimes it's also it gets to the point where it becomes even death. And it just and like I said, it's a sport in which it's extremely extremely dangerous. This is not a sport where you can play. It's not a sport where you can be out of shape. It's not something that you can play with. If you play with it, you're playing with your life.
And thoughts about Buddy McGirt. He got a lot of praise Friday night for pressing his fighter to stop the fight, which ultimately did do. And and we see exactly why he pressed for it, because a few days
Right.
later the fighter ultimately passed. So just thoughts on being a trainer yourself. What you saw him do and how he handled it, and what you do when you're watching a fighter, maybe one of your guys is getting the worst end of it. What you look for to see if you need to step in and throw in the towel.
Yeah, well, I've been in that situation a couple times, and that's exactly what I did, because I know the one thing is this, is that a fighter can always fight another day, and I mean, and sometimes it's in situations where the trainer, you may have a trainer that feels that, well, we're gonna go out on our sword, as they say, and that means that you're gonna let your fighter fight until that fighter gets knocked out, and that's the only way the fight's gonna end. But me myself, I've stopped, a couple of guys that I've been in their corner, and basically, and at one point in time, I had one of my fighters that he actually came back. He was that night. He was livid. He was so upset, but actually about 2 weeks later, he actually thanked me for it. Because the one thing is this, is that, like I said, this is a deadly sport. I mean, and sometimes, and it can happen at any time in your career. You can be, you can have a great career, and the next thing you know, all you gotta do is get hit the wrong way. And I mean, and it could end your career, or even end your life.
What were your thoughts out of what you saw from Buddy, the way he handled it between rounds there when they threw in the towel?
Well, I mean, I thought Buddy did a great job. I mean, he almost had to beg the kid. I mean, that he literally did. He literally begged the kid that, look, he said, look, please let me stop it. Please let me stop it. And the kid still, and that's the mentality of a real fighter, is that, no, I don't want to quit. And sometimes the fighter not knowing, themselves, and not in the ability of wanting to say that I at least made it to the end. Sometimes that's what can happen. I mean, because if this even happened after the fact of Buddy still stopping the fight, it still was too late. The damage was already done.
And how hard of a call is that for you to do? I mean, you're in this sport, doesn't get much more masculine than boxing. Your ego's there. Your manhood's on the line. And to say, hey, I didn't get knocked out, but I'm quitting. Even though that's the right thing to do. Obviously, in this case, it was even too late. How hard is it for you as a trainer and as a former fighter yourself to say, hey, I need to stop for my own good, even though I'm not knocked out.
Well, I mean, like I said, me myself, it's not hard for me. I mean, I won't jump in too quick, but I won't let my fighter get beat to the point where where he can defend himself, and I mean, he can't answer back. No, I'll stop a fight before then. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if the fighter doesn't want me to stop it. I'm gonna do it anyway, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's gonna be on my hands, and that's something that I have to live with. And I mean, like I said, I've stopped a couple guys that I've been training, and I would step in and I would stop the fight. And I mean, unfortunately, fortunately, I didn't have to beg them. You know, but like I said, I mean, this is a part of boxing that people don't, don't actually realize that, anytime you step in that ring, this is what can happen. I mean, at one point in time, everybody knew about Dooku Kim. I mean, that was like one of the most famous situations in which, when Ray Mancini killed Dooku Kim. And I mean, that's been talked about for years and years and years and years. But still, there's been multiple tragedies that have happened since then. You have Levander Johnson, and when I sparred with Levander Johnson. I mean, I was in training camp with him for that particular fight, and and it was sad that you have guys that come out of the ring and I mean, and they have that their brain, they have they're getting hit upside the head, and I mean, it's I don't really know what to say, but I just know that it's horrible. It's horrible, and I'm blessed that I was able to walk away from boxing with all my faculties.
You had mentioned Kim, and I know there's Ray Mancini's, how he had to deal with that. It's been well documented. But again, we have a person on the other side who's was doing his job, but he killed somebody.
Right.
So how do you obviously you never had to deal with that. You didn't hit anybody hard enough, but these other guys. That,
yeah. Okay.
Sorry not to make light of the situation there, but how do you think these fighters that are on the other side that do the damage, how do they cope with that?
Well, I mean, of course, only that person knows. I can't answer that for no one. No one can tell you how other person feel about killing someone.
How would you have felt? Would it have bothered you, or would you realize, hey, it's my job and it happened?
No, I mean, of course, I wouldn't want to kill anyone. I mean. So of course, I don't know. I don't know if I would walk away from boxing. I don't know. I mean, it hasn't happened. So, and of course, now that being that I'm retired, it won't happen. At least it won't happen in boxing. I might kill you on the street, but no, But no, I don't think that. If I was in that situation, me myself, I might walk away from boxing. I just don't know because
That'd be hard,
that's.
Yeah.
It's a very hard decision to make. I mean, don't get me wrong. At one point in time, I remember reading about what's his name? Emil Griffin. Emil Griffin, a guy called him a faggot.
Yeah.
And Emil Griffin said, "I'm going to kill you," and he did. That night, he killed that guy. And I don't know how he felt after doing that because, the guy did attack him in a certain way.
And that one did seem like on the referee, though. That referee let him take a pounding in there way unnecessarily.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it is the referee's fault as well because, that's their job. That's their job first. So, but, it's, like I said, at the end of the day, though, it's still a part of the sport, unfortunately.
And then finally, it's, any fan, media member, we all feel horrible about what happened. We love this sport, but we obviously never want to see anybody die from it. But it's different coming from, or, just tell me how, it feels at being a former boxer, being a trainer, someone that's in the sport, when you're fellow people. Because obviously we all feel terrible, but it's got to be a little bit different, on some levels, the way you guys feel compared to those of us who've never laced up the gloves.
Of course. Don't get me wrong, because the one thing is this, is that sometimes you don't know the relationship that trainer have with the fighter, and sometimes as a trainer, you wear so many hats. Sometimes it's almost like you're almost like that kid's father, and then sometimes you're like his best friend, and so, of course, when those things happen, if something happens, of course it's going to hurt you deeply. It's almost like a part of you is going to be missing if something happens to that person.
And then how do you feel how do you think, obviously you're not, buddy, you're not in his shoes and you haven't been in his shoes, but, how should he feel about, what's going on right now?
Can't say how he should feel. I
Well, I
mean,
mean, just
because
saying. I mean, I'm saying, you know, there's got to be on some level he's got to be blaming himself, but everyone else saying, you know, hey, he did
no,
what he
I
could.
don't, I
So
don't, I don't, I don't think he should blame himself. And the thing is, this is that I mean, if anything, he should be praised for what he did because he did the right thing. Whether he did it too late or not, he did. He did the right thing. He literally begged this kid. I mean, in every way possible, he begged this kid, please let me stop it. Please, please, please. And he said it about, 5 or 6 times. So in that situation, you're talking about a guy who did his job. It just so happened that, the aftermath was something different.
all right, man. Hate when we see this happens. Hate having these conversations, but appreciate your time.
All right, man.